G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Badges and Algrid. Today we're going to be doing MISC with specials you wouldn't want to MISC. No? Oh, okay. Terrible. I worked on that all day. No, just kidding. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll walk out now.
I can't even. Yeah, that's it. Good.
I don't know, it's market team's got great material. I don't know why they don't work with it. It would be really great. Actually, that's something Croncy would say. If you ever seen Croncy, he does these adverts, and that would be the perfect one for MISC. Some really cheesy line like that, but anyway. All right, is there anything
you say, in terms of entertainment, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, it's free, so you get diddly shit.
That's right.
But
That's right.
Is there anything here you're looking forward to today? Or I think this is one of the manufacturers, and I did say this to Algrid earlier, I find this the most vanilla of the manufacturers, like the middle of the road. And I might be in my lonesome there, but where do you find MISC sits, Badges? Because I kind of talked to Algrid already, but where do you find MISC sits as a manufacturer?
It's an interesting one. Again, I'll reference what we talked about yesterday to try and ease myself into this. MISC, like RSI, have really found their design language. So I was scrolling through rapidly the ship upgrades, and the pictures were just whipping past. And it's easy to go, that's a MISC ship. Not identify necessarily which one it is, but that's a MISC ship. I was actually looking for the Freelancer and stopped on the hull A or the hull B because it just looked so similar. I was like, oh, no, wrong one, and kept scrolling.
Yeah, I think that's how I said it to Algrid. I said there's not a lot of flare to them, and they're kind of like silver and a bit of a bubble shape. And yeah, they've got some alien engines, but they're not flamboyant like Drake or Origin or even Argo that's got that whole orange thing going. They're just the least tame. And even then, they're not tame. Like, I still like all their shit. I'm saying they're the most normal. I don't know how else to put that. It's in a series of manufacturers that are not normal, they are the most normal. But yeah, Algrid, well, sorry, I just go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of visual effect, yes, they do look the most plain, which is weird because they're the company that's supposed to have the heaviest alien influence, and the ship we've got in game at the moment with the heaviest alien influence is the Nomad. It's not even MISC.
Agreed.
To me, it's just like MISC of a company, but they gave rights for the Xi'an to build Hull E's and the Hull series in Xi'an space for the Xi'an tech to be, though MISC is actually a joint human Xi'an company in recent years. But yeah.
So Badges, did you have something else you wanted to finish saying? Sorry, we kind of both cut you off there.
Yeah, no, I think I like them because again, they're not combat focused. I think it's really easy to do the really aggressive lines, cover something with guns, have really interesting ways of missiles appearing and all of that sort of stuff. That's quite easy to do. Like I said, I'm all for the combat, obviously, with my background, but what interests me is how they do the non-combat stuff. And from that point of view, MISC has my attention.
I can't unsee that now. That's all like their bubbles, so they're in safety bubbles. So that's why they don't do combat. I just realised what it is. Yeah. It's literally space bubbles.
Yeah, like how many combat ships do they actually have? And you think about it, there's really only the one. There's the Freelancer MISC. That's it.
You got the Freelancer. We've got the Reliant's got a combat variant, isn't it? Forget which one it is because they really don't.
That's Reliant, and that's like a Reliant Robin.
All right, so the Endeavour. Anyone that's a long-time staple of the show is something we recommend heavily. Is clearly going to be a very big capital ship, yet at a very large ship price. So you are getting a massive discount on this buying ahead of time, and I think we've had an influence.
I feel like in the background I should be go.
I think it's the news. The news of the day.
Yeah, Badges. Yeah, Badges. Let everyone know. Yeah, let everyone know. Badges, what'd you do, Badges? You did a thing, didn't you?
What did you do?
I got a CCU to the Crucible.
Yeah.
Only the Crucible?
Yeah.
Maybe not only the Crucible. Yeah. I got a Prospector paint.
So.
And what's the last thing you brought?
Start,
just to stop. Just make it stop. Yeah, that.
We didn't say anything. You did this on your own. You did this on your own, Matt. We didn't do anything. We didn't do anything.
That's true.
Help. Send help.
Yeah.
It is true. We didn't do anything. We didn't sit there and say, Badgers, you must.
No,
you actually
yourself
said, I'm doing it. I'm doing it, guys. I'm just letting you know. I'm joining the cult.
Of events. I mean, of course you'd say that.
We have witnesses that listened, so that's all right. We'll drag them on here if we have to.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've really gone off tangent here. So the Endeavour, really good buy, as we're kind of alluding to, a Gemini to Endeavour, and if you want to kind of protect that, you can also go a Cat to a Gemini, so you can protect that as well. Get those CCUs and lock this in, because this thing is going to... Like, if you think the Banner Merchantman went up, the only other ship that's potentially going to do that at that type of thing will be this. So, yeah, I think we'll make this a short and sweet one, because we've talked about this one a lot, yeah?
I think for me, because this is something that I'm refreshing myself on, because like many people, I've not been watching the Endeavour at all. I do what I normally do when loads of people tell me I should be doing something, as I don't do it on principle. But... if people want to look, not necessarily to buy, just to understand the direction they're taking with the Endeavour, then the modules you can view them under add-ons in the extras menu on the Pledge store. And they've got things like a biodome, they've got a Hadron Collider, they've got landing pods, hospitals, space telescopes. It's really out there with what they're doing with it. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, that's where you find it all.
Algrid, so I think you would agree with me. Ironically, this will probably work out being cheaper than the Galaxy, but it's the main medical, it's the capital medical, as opposed to the large.
Yeah. So if you, I think I can't remember the price of the Hope, but $350 for this, and then probably I think it's $100 for the medical and $100 at most for the hangar. So you're looking at $550 at most for a Hope.
That said, Algrid, we would never recommend people buy the modules. They're an earning game. I will just point that out. Because
and generally because the modules are so cheap.
Yeah,
in comparison to other things.
Correct. Yeah, modules are like fighters. They don't increase in value, so they're just not worth getting. All right, moving right along. The Expanse. I think the other interesting thing is with the Galaxy coming is this is now not the only refinery ship. I'm going to be honest, of those three modules, the refinery is the most interesting to me, but I'm going to be honest, I also now know that there's most likely a capital refinery ship coming, and that is the ship that I want, not the RSI Galaxy. So for me, the two main modules of the Galaxy make it... I'm talking about an RSI ship, but I'm preloading people for when the Galaxy drops. And I've got lots of messages from people saying, I think I can pass on the RSI Galaxy as well. So, I know... Okay, the Expanse, starter, obviously for me, it's a buying game. Sorry, I went off tangent there, but yeah, Algrid, your thoughts on the Expanse?
It's a nice looking ship. It's great for starting, but if you're really into the refinery stuff, you're looking for the large of a cap as your options, but yeah.
Badges? Anything to say?
I think it's really interesting in the group gameplay, but not necessarily the multi-crew gameplay, in that sure, I think this is 2 crew, is it? But you'll be working with prospectors, potentially moles. You can have the saddlebags go and load stuff into this, so you can constantly be doing stuff. I think what was really interesting about the Expanse, and go back and watch the episode if you haven't, is how they talked about refining gameplay, and they were talking about how you would be adding different things at different times. You'd be required to skim off impurities, which is something I think you yourself speculated about X, and they actually mentioned it in the video. So it was interesting to see that kind of happen. But this is obviously going to be in depth. This again is not going to be just like the refining gameplay we get in stations. It's going to be more involved, like the mining thing.
The only thing I would add to that is with my talks with the people that were in the industry, is that it could also have the ability where you jerry-rig how the refineries interact with each other, and it's a little bit like Satisfactory. You get factories that feed into factories, and they make different things. That is a potential gameplay with this thing, as well as everything you mentioned as well. So
that would make sense, that you make alloys along the way, and effectively, what you get out of the end, because that would show the benefit of doing this over. It's like, so the risk is that you screw the process up and you lose the ores. It just becomes unusable metal. So what's the reward? That actually, like you say, you could make some really kind of expensive alloys without ever having to go back to base until you're literally like, guys, literally cannot take anymore. Like, everything's full of stuff we need to sell. We're going to go now. And that would be the payoff with it. So yeah, really, I think this is really cool. Alternative to the multi-crew is the whole multi-ship mini fleet idea. A bunch of prospectors, maybe a mole, this thing, and then depending on whether this needs to unload directly or maybe it can unload into something, and that takes it off to sell it. That would be cool as well. But, you know, again, not confirmed, don't know. But that mini fleet, I really like that idea of finding little groups of ships working together.
Maybe we find a bit more out about refining with the Galaxy tomorrow. It'll be interesting. All right, I'm going to move on because we've been 10 minutes and we've done 2 ships. I'm going to pair all these together. The Freelancer, for me, these are, I think Agrid talked a little bit about this before the show. They're a little bit of a relic from, they need a bit of an overhaul. The 4 seats, they're a little bit condensed in there for me. I do think, much like the Connie, it will eventually get an overhaul, and it will be brought up to par to where the Cutlass and the Spirit will be. But you guys tell me your thoughts on, and your favourite variant of the 4, please. Badges, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Overcrewed for what they are, but I think that makes them, by overcrewed I mean too many crew, makes them really functional, because you can go and do some stuff with it across for you, like shooting some stuff, and then you can go and do some cargo and whatever else. Yeah, I really like them, and I've got to say, just the stock for me, 100 quid for 4 people in a ship, 110, whatever it is, for 4 people in a ship, I'm all over that. That's really good. And I like it. The VTOL mode's janky though.
Yeah. Agrid.
Yeah, I suppose I either vacillate between the max or the standard. I know lots of people do like the MISC because of the extra missiles, but the missile loadout that you can get on these is pretty good. You can change the missile pods around, so you do get a lot of variety. They're kind of an upmarket. To me, they seem like upmarket cutlasses. So there's that aspect. What I find frustrating is these are these are the first ships of human/Xi'an element of design, because of the trade agreement with Xi'an, and yet you don't really see it. You see it kind of in a little bit in the engines, and the idea was it was supposed to come through in the cockpit and other areas. And yet that whole design metric we see within the MISC, the Freelancer, kind of got moved into all of the MISC ships. So even the ships that predate the Xi'an contract, like the hulls.
All right, then. Mine is the DER. I was a big fan of this. I'm still not sure how good it's going to be because the terrapins are things. So that's kind of where I end up sitting on that. I think it might have a little bit more long range than that, but we'll see. The Hull A, Algrid, your thoughts on the Hull A?
I do like the Hull A. It ties very nicely in with what Badges was saying with regard to the MISC, not the MISC, but the Expanse and mining and doing those small ship type activities. And that having a fleet of small ships is a legitimate gameplay, as opposed to having a big capital ship, and so it does work.
I could definitely see a group of 3 people with like a Hull A, a Prospector, and the Expanse all working together with just 3 people. Yeah, I could see that. Badges, your thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's relatively cheap because it's a starter ship of a series, and it's the beginning of the whole A series as well.
I think I'll just put it this way: you and I would both recommend this over the Nomad. That's the way I think you and I would promote this ship if we were ever to promote it. Yeah. Badges, your thoughts on the Hull A, buddy?
Love it. This and the Hull B, the 2 hull classes that can land in Atmo. It's cute. It's got really nice functionality. The fact that it folds out, and the inside I find is really designed. I think it's a Gucci little ship, and actually it's got some really nice paints for it as well, if you're into those cosmetics.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there with the A and the B and the landing thing. The main thing I see these being used for is from station to planet transfers, where the whole C and that will be going to the station, and so these are just constantly going backwards and forwards doing deliveries like that. So yeah, starter cargo profession, yeah, 100%.
Yep.
All right, whole B. Do we need to elaborate on this? The bigger, better brother. I think we can kind of say that that's what it is. Like if you want to go up, like if you've got if you've got the money, the B is the better option because it can land. I think the weird thing about this one, I read it. Now you can correct me if I'm wrong, Agrid. This can go through a small jump point, but then when you put cargo on it, it has to go through a bigger one. That's the way I analogize the.
I would
the
have to go back. Yeah, I'd have to go back and read the law. I know it was one of them was like that, and I just can't remember which one.
Yeah, and I think it's the B. So the B can carry more, but it's only in one direction, where the A can go both directions. So that gives you reasons for both to exist. So yeah, Badges, do you want to add to the B, or are you happy just going to C? I think is next.
I think we're good. I think the C's up next.
Or you can tell us about the C then, buddy. What's your thoughts on the C?
Look, we're now getting into the effect of major scale trading. All I'd say is about the C is from what we can see at the moment, the fact that your cargo is external and therefore free to be targeted by people. These will make better targets for pirates because they can blow off a couple of those SCU boxes and nick what's inside them, as opposed to stopping the whole ship. So I think these are going to be great for the safer trade lanes. Just don't underestimate how many crew it's going to take to run these things, and the loading, unloading times, as well, are going to be significant the further up the whole scale we get.
Yes. So our grid, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I'm a bit cooked at the moment, but this is the most common ship in the entire game.
Yep. This is supposedly the most common hauling ship in the UEE. They are ubiquitous. They are everywhere.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at buying one of these, this is a ship, even though it's like $350, even though it's above that price we'd normally say don't buy. This is a ship, I think, there's good reason to say I'll buy this in game because they're so common, they should be cheap.
Yeah. I think the other part of that is...
And easy to get.
Yeah, I was going to say just the other part of that is with pirating, so to speak, they will be the most easily known where all the weak spots are and stuff like that because that's the most common. So yeah, that's the reason why I recommend something like a Banner Merchantman over this, because they were at a point where they were very similar cargo sizes. Now this has more, yeah. All right, the D and E I think we can kind of chuck together. Again, it's just a scale thing. E's really hard to get by. I would not be surprised if this is already sold out, and you can't get it with LTI because it's at that weird $750 price point. But yeah, Agrid, do you want to talk about the D and E?
They're big intersystem massive traders. There's like your 30, 40 rail carriages of coal or massive, it's your mass transport. It's
Badges. So one thing they've often talked about with the E, I don't know if you know this, but the amount of cargo that this thing carries is actually more valuable than the ship itself. by multiples, by the way.
Well, I wanted to touch on that very quickly, just so because people watching might not know the numbers off their head. The hull A starts at 64 SCU, hull B 384, the hull C 4608 SCU, the hull D 20,736, and the hull E 98,304. And that's obviously from the Matrix Allies, subject to change. Can you
give me the stats on the C again?
So the C is 4,608.
I thought you said 400, and I was like, "What the? That's less than the Caterpillar. What's going on?"
4608.
I've officially lost it, guys. Thanks for. Anyway, all right, Agrid's favorite ship. Tell me all about it.
Oh God.
It's a survey ship.
Yeah.
And they sold it as an out there deep space explorer, and they told us all the things that didn't tell us what things make it a great explorer, and that's the thing that I really hate about the sale of this ship. We don't really know what it's got. We know it's got a great hangar. We know it's got a refinery head, a refinery and a mining head that work together to help refuel it. And that's it. That's what makes it an awesome Explorer.
I think if we're...
Everything else was fluff.
Agrid, would you agree with this? If they said that the Galaxy is an industrial Perseus, then this is an industrial Polaris? Is that the easiest way to kind of... I don't know. That's how I see this now.
I think you're still showing your tightness. I'd say it's the industrial Carrack, not the industrial Polaris. Unless you're going to the hangar style thing.
Yeah, I went hangar, but yeah, you're right. It's definitely somewhere between those two. Yeah, industrial Carrack, industrial Polaris, 100%. Badges, anything you want to add to the blasphemy that is the Odyssey, or would you like to?
I am massively offended that you used the word industrial Perseus. Stop it. Yeah. I'm going to come to the Odyssey's defense. I think, yes, the way it was sold. The fact that they mentioned Carrack Killer is clearly not what this thing is. But I think the niche that I can see this thing filling is where they're putting resources so far out that they're valuable because of how hard they are to obtain. And that's where this thing is basically helping itself out. All the moving around it's got to get to a far out location and then go and move around and actually find very limited quantities of this stuff is where the refinery and its ability to keep itself going is key. And that's the role I can see.
Finding the resource. This is a resource finder ship. That's a really good way to a laper. Instead of calling a survey a resource finder, that's a really good way to put it, mate. Yeah, 100% agree with
you. Yeah, absolutely. And just people need to bear in mind. They go, well, the Carrack is obviously Explorer because it's got the map room. Now, what we know is as long as you've got the scanner equipped, you can go and find jump points. This thing's going to be able to find jump points. What the rooms give you is buff to already existing abilities. So the Carrack's going to be better at it than this thing that's got a scanning table at the back. It's in some of the artwork at the back of the bridge. But because it's not its own dedicated space, you don't get that buff. So still able to do it, not able to do it as well as you would expect. So,
both ships there kind of tell you that too, because you've got that giant cartography room that is designed for in space. It shows solar systems, and then a cartography like table in the MISC right behind the cockpit tells you that it's a surface. It's a 2D map, so it's a surface level thing. So one's designed for planets and one's designed for systems, and that is very clearly. You can't get away from that.
Yeah,
it's very clearly defines their role.
Yeah, the artwork definitely gives.
I'm going to move on because if I don't, he's going to start talking, and we're going to be here forever. Do you have anything really important to add, Agrid? I don't want to be rude or mean, but go ahead.
I was going to say yes, I agree with what you're saying about the topography table and the globe.
I thought I could hear the rage building, and I was wrong. Sorry.
The rage will build if you keep calling me an old man or say I keep waffling.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right.
That's when my tiredness will kick in.
Yes, exactly. All right. So, Prospector, Agrid, please tell me your thoughts on this, buddy.
It's a great solo miner. Like it is a great introductory ship to the mining, and the mining loop is the most developed loop. So it's a ship worth going out and trying and seeing if you like the mining game.
Definitely good for someone if they're trying out the free fly and they want a really good starter ship that centers on that is the Prospector. And John Citizen, a friend of the show that's been on a few times, it's his favorite mining ship. He loves the thing to death. And I can see why. It's small. He doesn't have to rely on anyone else. So yeah. Badges, anything you want?
And it does have nice living quarters. So it's one of those nice self-contained little ships as well. So
Badges.
If you've got the impression that the game is ocean wide but puddle deep, A, you would be right at the moment. But B, you owe it yourself to get into one of these things. The depth of gameplay that you have with the different mining heads, the different components that change how you mine, then the mining deployables that you can deploy on asteroids to change. When you see all that working together, you start to understand the direction they're going with each of the gameplay loops. I gotta say with Algrid, I love the living quarters on this. I love the visibility in the cockpit. I love the fact that even though it's got this really bulbous cockpit, you can see out really well. You're still kind of inching your way round the seat to sit in it.
Yeah.
And it is literally, it's small, it's compact. Every available space is packed with something you need. Love it. Gorgeous little ship.
Yeah, I agree with.
And the war bond.
Oh yeah,
offering.
We can talk about that now. Yeah, let's talk about that now then. So yeah, the war bond offering, obviously for $5 USD, and I'm gonna have to do math. So basically, save 10. I think I've got that correct. And the recommendation is from the Hornet tracker because that's all is available. There is other options. Hang on, see if I can go back. There is other options, but the reason I didn't pick those, or what was it? I'm totally lost now. Hang on. Give me a second. So here are the other options. So there were things like the Vulture's going up in price. The Hull B is not always available, but the Hornet is always available. And the other one that's not is the Ballista. So it just made the Hornet the safer option because it's always available. So yeah, that's the answer to that one.
Absolutely.
All right, badges. The MISC Razor. I am going to chuck all three variants together though. So the XE and the LE. I think personally the stealth one is probably going to be the most interesting one for me as like a scouting ship, so they can't find you. Obviously, the other two are just racing variants by my count. But you correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I agree. You know, these things are going to turn heads just from the point of view you don't see them in the verse that often. So someone pulls one of these out and people just come over because it's like, oh, I haven't seen one of these in ages, or I've never seen one of these in game. Yeah, really interesting. You know, this is one of the few times where I do talk about the money in relation to other ships. Is there are other ships around that value that I personally would want. But like I said, if you're into turning heads and one of those purposes suit you, this is all yours. Good looking ship.
Agrid?
You mean me?
Yes, Agrid. That is your name,
You
isn't
said
it?
badges. No, you said badges though.
Did I? Oh god, I'm really losing it. Oh shit! I thought I said Agrid. Okay, well, okay, I've lost it. Right, yeah, Agrid. No, badges then. Whatever your name is, just speak.
So yeah, a bit like badges, I find $155 for this versus the $150 on the Prospector that just blows my mind when you look at the gameplay.
Yeah,
these are just racing as averse to the mining gameplay loop. I do really like the look of a standard Razor because it's got the racing skins all over it. And to a lesser extent, the LX version, and I think from memory, the LX version was like the Dragster, and the standard was just a standard racer, and then you got the stealthy version in there as well.
This had bigger guns and stuff on it too, but yeah, it's more military, and I think this will actually see use because of that stealth ability because it's such a small craft. You can use it for scouting, like ahead of an attack, and hopefully not get seen. That's why I think it's got a place where the other two are just That said, though,
it's a sexy looking ship.
That said, I think they'll probably both see use as wormhole navigation ships. I think that literally is going to be when you're not racing, because let's be honest, that's probably only going to be on the weekend. What do you use the racing ships for? Run a wormhole and try and get that time down so you can sell that to other people and make money. So that's where I think a lot of racing is going to be on the off hours. So yeah. All right. Moving on, I'm going to bundle these together as well. We've got the 4 core variants. The standout for me is actually the Sen. I think, Agrid, I know you'd agree with me on that. The Mako, I still don't see why that's a thing. Because I think honestly, as a content creator, you'd want to be in almost any other ship to try and film when you're flying sideways. But yeah, you guys give me your thoughts. The Tanner's interesting though too, I think, as well, with the 2SC of cargo. But yeah, badges. What's your thoughts?
I mean, you're just hitting the piss badges I've buttered at the minute.
Please.
No. Reliant, great. It's multi-crew for people that don't understand. It's 2 crew, so it's a nice, cheap dual ship for people who want to fly around with a friend in the cockpit. Great. I love the idea of the Mako. For the people that don't know about the Mako, it's basically a reporter version. So the turret is actually an optics turret, and it talks about capturing the action. I love the idea of this. I think it needs a skin like the Reliant Mako Warzone, where it's literally got press written all over it. So you can't target it unless you mean to.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't the Mako a killer whale? Is that what
Mako's a shark?
It's a shark. Okay, right.
Yeah,
fair enough. So it needs a shark skin.
So, but something like this, I love because I love the possibilities that this opens up.
Yeah. So when I said I kind of don't like this, is I love the idea of what it does. I just think it would be so much better on another ship, like not this one. This one just this ship has a lot of problems. I think it. Like, for example, the wing space, why don't they allow you to put cargo in all that empty space? Why the original concept had the wings folding up, so it took up less space when it landed, you know? It just goes on and on and on. It's a look, I'll give you this, though, really unique design, and when it was pitched, I was like, holy awesome, this is like a mini Slave 1 from Star Wars, but yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, the rest of them, you know, anything with science, interested to see where the science gameplay goes. But yes, the Mako and to a lesser extent the Sen really have my attention. And I'm sure at some point the Mako, to the chagrin of my fellow Inforunners, will make it into my stable at some point.
That's totally fine. Real quick, your point on the Tanner, because you're the military guy. So is it actually a viable combat ship in your eyes?
At the moment, I don't think it's in a great place, but I think it will be like everything else. I think having two people lightens the load on one person in a fight. It improves situational awareness. So even if only for that reason, it'll be viable.
You know, I just realized it's also a B-wing. It's like half B-wing, half slave. I just realized. Algrid, your thoughts on the Reliant, please, buddy?
The Tanner I like because it is a two-person ship and that turret on the wingtip is a 360-degree turret, which means if you let your co-pilot take control of that turret, and I'm remembering that they can.
Yeah, you're right. And there's two of them, isn't there? There's one top and one bottom on the Tanner. Yeah.
That means that the co-pilot can actually be taking care of anyone chasing you while you are taking care of flying. So that's an advantage, but most...
Could be really interesting in dogfights, but I think the counterpoint to the two turrets, though, and you guys correct me if wrong, especially badges of the military stuff, it's just so big that it's so easy to hit. Am I wrong in that, badges? Is that like a real detrimental thing? This thing is just a giant flying wing, so it's so much easier to hit. Yeah.
Yeah, from an angle, you know, it means that you need to be more aware of who you're facing. You know, and obviously you want everyone that you're fighting either at your 12 or at your 6, preferably your 12. But yeah, I think there are plenty of ships that fall, you know, like I think we'll put it back to the Perseus, and I'll point in one of the flaws of the Perseus is from the top or the bottom, the Perseus is a big target. There's a lot of real estate there to put rounds into.
Whereas from frontal back of, you know, of this ship, it is very narrow and very small in comparison because it's
Yep.
Agreed.
Just narrow. I like the Sen because it is really the first science vehicle we've got.
Yep.
Again, two people. The Mako, I do like the idea of it. I can see why they've chosen the Mako for a human press vehicle because it is fairly maneuverable.
The turret?
And the turret and also the engine because it is really picking up on that Xi'an type tech for the engine mounts and everything else. So it gives it that maneuverability. And the core, well, it's the core. The name for me, I cannot get past the Reliant Robin. When this first came out, I was still watching Mr. Bean and constantly seeing the Reliant get trashed. And then you've also got the...
just so people are aware, it's that little three-wheeled car, yeah? Just so you... Yeah.
And then you've also got... I recently watched Top Gear where they sent... No, I watched Top Gear where they sent the Reliant up to space. And so, or tried to send it up to space. And so for me, this just is a meme of a Reliant Robin, and I can't not see it as a Reliant Robin, which means as much as I like it, I can't.
Yeah.
Mate, if I start seeing this thing as a Reliant Robin, you and I are going to fall out. If you planted that idea in my head, oh my God.
Yeah, I think for me, when the dust settles, it'll be the Sen at the end of the day. Being that, you know, we talk about bespoke low-level ships, kind of like what the Medical Pisces does.
Yeah.
It's low-level science, and we just don't have a lot of low-level bespoke stuff. So yeah. Right, the Starfarer and the Starfarer Gemini. Agrid, what are your thoughts on this? Because it's you and I have gone backwards and forwards over this over the years. It's had things added, taken, and I think both you and I would say it really is a a sign of its time. It's got so many things it does, but it drastically needs an internal rework.
And we know that they want to do that. We know it doesn't work. We know it's not going to come soon because they need that current rework for things like Xenothread or Squadron 42, or even I think we have similar types of things with Lockdown. I haven't done Lockdown. I tend to avoid that like the plague, so I can't mention. But it's a PvP level.
Yeah.
It's a first-person shooter level. It's a cargo ship. It's a refinery. It's a fuel scoop. At one point, it was also your back in the day. It was for scooping up Quantanium.
Now it looks like it's going to be the large gas miner, so to speak. It still retains that gas scoop. And it's like we're always told it's got a refinery, but you look at the Expanse now, and you can kind of tell that a lot of these, it's just to remove that volatility of Quantanium or what other materials they end up making. So for me, this still does the refining. I'm very interested to see where this stands now with the ship like the Galaxy coming along, and that being the actual proper refinery. Though this can do it. This is specifically for making fuel compared to other stuff.
It was interesting that the Galaxy seemed like they had two, like in the graphics, seemed like they had two big refineries.
Agree with you.
And that's what this has always been said to have, the two refineries on the side.
Yep.
The Expanse, on the other hand, has 6. And that's, I think, the big difference between
so actually
dedicated refinery and the other ships.
Yeah, two refineries, but 3 reactors is what's on this one. They were calling it reactors, but again, we need a bit more clarification on how that works. But yeah, Badges, is what's your strengths of this ship, or is it just all weaknesses for you?
So I'm approaching, as will surprise precisely no one, I'm going to approach this a little differently. I've written a poem to the Starfarer. Okay, and this is how it goes.
Wait. This is a poem we don't want to miss. All right, go ahead.
Okay. O Starfarer and Gemini, stay strong, hang tough. It turns out the community just can't hate you enough. But when CIG finally get round to giving you that buff, then, my much maligned friend, you will be getting all the muff. Okay, muff in the UK is slang for pussy. So, yeah, look, everyone hates it because the inside is an absolute car crash, but it's going to be vital to fleets. It's needed. I think the reason it's only got the 2 refineries is obviously it's specifically only interested in getting fuel to its ships. It's not interested in all the other minerals that the Expanse may or may not be dealing with. This is much more purpose-driven to keeping fleets going, keeping them rearmed, and hopefully keeping itself alive while it's doing so. I feel a little bit sad for it. I feel like it must go around with a sad face all the time because everybody just, to put no finer point on it, shits on it. But hopefully they'll fix it and put it into a good place.
I think the other thing I'd add really quickly is, it comes with the liquid storage. They do have solid cargo storage, so you can, in your off hours, use this as a cargo transport as well. So it does have a little bit of modularity, just a hint. So yeah,
just a little bit.
Yeah.
The difference between those two is also the Gemini has been kind of unarmored by Anvil. It has better armor, I think better weapons, but it's supposed to lose cargo, and I think that cargo loss is not from space, but the fact that it's just carrying extra weight in the armor and weapons.
That is correct. So in space, it's exactly the same, but going down to planet, you may not get off planet with the same amount of cargo. So if you are delivering cargo, you may come down faster and have a trouble trying to land. But as long as you're dropping some cargo off, you'll still get into space. So for me, the loss is not that detrimental. The interesting thing is, in-game, the Gemini is actually cheaper because it's an armored fuel transport for the military. But what you get with the upgrade in the real-world money situation is you actually retain all the refineries and all the extras and the fuel scoop and stuff like that. And you gain missiles on this and the armor, as Algrid said. So, yeah, and the bigger turret and the bigger guns, improved engines. The really interesting thing about this one, Algrid, that I have to talk about is it's actually a cross between MISC and Aegis. It's one of those few ships where we get that dual manufacturer stuff, and I'm all for that personally. So yeah. All right, well, that is the end of that. As we go back to the Endeavour, the one thing I did want to point out is this new skin for the Polaris. Not Polaris, Prospector. God, I am cooked.
That is sexy.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I like that.
Reminds me of those little boiled lollies out of grid. Do you know the ones I'm talking about? The little black, the
humbugs.
Yeah, one of those.
Aniseeds.
Yeah, aniseeds.
Humbugs.
Reminds me of that. I believe it or not, I'm not a big fan of kind of plainish skins, but it works for this in a lot of ways. So
it does.
Yeah. I might have to buy John one for Christmas.
I think that one works because it is a small kind of. It almost looks like a humbug lolly in its shape with that skin on it. So it just triggers that memory, doesn't it?
Mm. Well, no one ruined that for me, and I'll give it to John for Christmas as a surprise. But yeah, so that's been MISC. I think that's what do we got tomorrow? RSI. Whoa, big day tomorrow.
The big one.
Yeah. So what I'm planning to do is probably do the buyer's guide the day after that. So I've got
we're going to be fried.
Yeah, just some time to look at it. We'll be getting lots of questions, obviously. I might even try and live stream tomorrow, just because tomorrow is going to be the big one. So I might live stream the prep show again. We'll see how we go there. So you guys can get some initial impressions of the Galaxy, and then we'll do like maybe a deep dive or something like that. I don't know if you guys are around. I'll get you to join in on that if you want. It's entirely up to you, of course. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you guys want to hear in the comments below about MISC or today's sale at all?
How good was that poem? Just saying.
There's it's so harsh. I don't want to say it. I'm just not gonna say anything because I know I'll get comments.
I mean, just compare it to all your Star Citizen poetry, and then we'll see who wins.
Yes. Okay, you win. All right, Agrid. I'm so biting my tongue right now. The comedian in me is like going off. Agrid. Anything you want to hear in the comments below?
Do you do funny?
Yeah.
Awesome.
He does. He does think he's funny.
Can't wait for that to start.
Yes. All right, Agrid. Anything you'd like to hear, mate?
What are you hoping to MISC? Or what have we MISC?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the more MISC puns you can put in the comments below, the better we'll feel about badges. That's how we get him back, everyone, for that poem. So give us all your MISC puns in the comments below, and we're going to make Agrid read every single one of them, and he's got to like every single one just to make sure we know he's done that.
I will not guarantee I will like every single one, but I will read every single comment because I always do.
And we're done. Right, with that, he was Badges, he was Agrid, and I've been Execute, and my job's done here.
And we're out of here.
See yous.